Only after the selection, I got to know that the research is more on the field of IP and patents.
Not really on the
Exactly.
products
Yes,
themselves.
yes.
Okay. So basically, you got conned into accepting the offer.
Yes, a kind of, yeah. So we got to work with multiple different clients from different areas or domain expertise, starting from the life science background to the general sciences.
What would you advise to companies to as to when is the right time for them to hire in-house consultants?
Irrespective of what size the company is,
Yes.
we need to have regular awareness sessions happening. So many inventors, they are reluctant when it comes to some paperwork.
Yeah.
They just go away.
I don't know.
Okay, let's see how it goes. Yeah,
I
let's see.
think not more than an hour. And there's no
Yeah.
planning as such.
Got it. We'll make it as free as possible.
Yeah. It's on record, right? Hi everyone, welcome to InvnTree's podcast and patents, where we learn from leaders from the IP world. And I'm Hemanth Puttaiah, co-founder of InvnTree IP Services. And I'm thrilled to have Balasubramanian from Sun Mobility. Hi, Bala.
Thanks for having me here. It's
Yeah.
a good opportunity for me to discuss with you on all the topics about IP. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks for coming on the show. Yeah. So let's say before we actually delve into the field of IP and how you got into the IP itself, just tell me a bit about what's your background as such. What's your education qualifications and all that, so that viewers can understand that what are the kind of people from which educational backgrounds do people get into the field of IP itself?
Got it. Like, unlike any like engineering professional who used to have their own focused mindset of just I want my career plan to be in either software or probably in the mechanical engineering product development related things, mine was slightly different. I was actually looking for different opportunities of something to make myself unique. I'm basically, by the way, a mechanical engineering graduate.
Okay.
And after that, like every other professional who are getting into the software and other product related companies, I was trying to find out some niche area where I can put myself apart from others. Like that is one key thing I was keep looking at. And I was obviously having a couple of offers in hand,
Okay.
which was all to do with the softwares. But somehow I was reluctant to take it up. Something was stopping me on taking up those things. That's when one of my friend on one fine day called me and he told that there is an opportunity for a research engineer position available in one company. Why can't you go and explore? I was very fascinated by that because research engineer just after graduation is something no one can expect.
Okay.
Other than this JRF, the junior research fellows and things. This
Yeah,
was
that's
like
different.
a complete research engineer position for a private company. So I was very fascinated by the title of it, and I got into the interview process, and finally I got selected also.
Okay.
Only after the selection, I got to know that the research is more on the field of IP and patents.
Not really on the products themselves.
Yes.
Okay.
Because once I entered the company, a typical research institute, what would they typically have? A lab setup probably with some prototyping happening here and there. But when I entered the company, it was completely an IT organization, kind of an infrastructure is what they had.
So basically, you got conned into accepting the offer.
Yes, a kind of, yeah.
So during the interview process, you were not really sure as to
Because-
what is the research based on, and you just
Exactly.
assume that it is research based on,
Correct.
let's say, mechanical engineering.
Because for all the questions that were there during the interview process, it's all more about the engineering and things like that. I didn't even get a single question about what this IP is, what is patent is.
That's how it is, right?
Yes,
So
correct.
basically, they would try to determine whether what's your ability to understand something.
Correct.
So that is what even we check for.
Yes.
We do not really want to have people who have knowledge of IP as such.
Correct.
But when you're hiring freshers, it is typically we are gauging them on their ability to understand technology fast.
Correct. Yes.
And that is what they were testing you on.
Yes.
Okay.
Even by that time, I was not knowing what this terminology patent mean.
Oh.
IP, to a certain extent, I am aware of, but
Okay.
this term of patent, I was completely new to it by that time. Then, over a period of time, I got into it. Then I was impressed by many things which are happening in the world of patents. So that is one thing I would say that acted as a platform for me, which brought into the world of IP. So that is one side of it. On the other side, from there, I got into multiple opportunities working with different automotive related companies like Mahindra and Mahindra is one of it. Right now, I'm associated with Sun Mobility. So all these throughout end to end, I'm completely into the world of IP.
Right now, yeah. So you did start your career with a service provider to begin with,
Correct.
and then you have moved on to in-house positions as well. So let's say since you have worked with service providers to begin with, and then you have moved on to, I think most of your career now has been in-house, right?
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
Yeah. So almost like roughly, if I want to put it, like 14, 15 years are now into the in-house teams.
Okay. So what difference do you see with, let's say, working for a service provider as compared to, let's say, in-house? Also, has your time with working for service providers helped you, let's say, in your in-house matters as well?
Got it. So there are pros and cons associated with working with a service provider based company to a in-house council based company. So I got the flavor of both these things, and as I was telling earlier, my base, or rather the awareness to IP, happened more with a service provider based firm.
Yes.
So that acted as a platform for me, wherein I got to know the legal procedures associated with IP. Even though I am coming with some level of basic understandings of patents, it got me involved into the nuances of what to be done, how to be done. So all the legal procedures. So that was one area where I've learned a lot with respect to the service-based company. On top of it, we got to work with multiple different clients from different areas or domain expertise, starting from the life science background to the general sciences to something on the electronic side, semiconductor. So it was all a mix of things. So that is one other thing.
I can relate to that.
Correct. So you get a flavor of all different things happening around different industries. So that is one other big advantage, I would say. Just by coming with one particular background, you get a flavor of working with different other things. So that is one more added advantage on working with a service-based company. Now, just moving on to an in-house based company, here the things are slightly different. You are assigned with certain level of activities that you want to work with, along with some time-bound pressures. And here the advantage being you get a closer interaction with the product development teams.
Definitely.
So you know what the business is looking out for from the product engineers, and accordingly you can align your IP activities accordingly.
Sure.
So here there is a close connect with the R&D professionals and the engineers, where you keep doing every day in day out discussions with them. So that gives a complete different flavor to the way that you can align things with the organization. So I would say a disadvantage probably is like you are stuck to one particular domain or one particular expertise. So you can't easily move things around when this kind of thing happens.
So let's say you're working for in-house as let's say an automobile industry itself. So maybe your the opportunities become limited. You are actually let's say in the forefront of in-house in the automobile industry itself. Rather than actually your horizons being much bigger.
Exactly.
That I understand. But I think for as an in-house counsel, you do get to actually advise leaders on the IP policies. What should your strategy be, as well as how to actually align your company's goals with the business. So it's a very completely different perspective from working for a service provider. Than actually working for a in-house as in-house counselors.
Correct. So you're right. But when I was in the early stage of career, I was to a very limited extent involved in all such things.
Okay.
So because I've spent hardly like 3-4 initial years, I really didn't get an opportunity of such kind. But I was acting more in terms of identifying the white spaces for certain companies who are very big US conglomerate, I would say. So I was closely associated with even their US counterparts and having discussion, as you were rightly pointing out. Like, so I got limited opportunities, and it is there. Once you grow up the ladder, you will definitely get such opportunities when you're working with the service provider based companies. And even today, many of the bigger companies, for that matter, they always get engaged to the service based companies primarily to get the third person's view of how things can change their own perspective. So that is really important, irrespective of how big their in-house IP team or in-house council they have. They always go with an external provider just to be sure that they are coming with a different perspective. So that is very important, actually.
Yeah, that brings me to my next questions. Now, so what would you advise to companies to as to when is the right time for them to hire in-house counsels?
I would say there is no thumb rule as such. It varies from companies to companies. But to put it very broad, what I can say is, like, if you are a startup where you're just venturing into, especially the deep tech startups or software based software as a service related startups, you essentially need to have an IP counsel upfront. If not, at least you need to hire an external service provider upfront, at least
who acts as
a remote counsel for to understand things from the early stage. So that is very crucial, especially in the startup environment, where many a times people tend to miss out this IP part in the early stages. So it's very crucial that you, instead of you investing a full-time employee at the initial stage, you need to have at least one assistant or one remote counsel who can work along with you at the early stage to ensure that you're not missing out something.
Definitely, so this makes a lot of sense. And see, not everybody does have the budget for full-on IP counsel, right? So let's say they are starting out. Let's say even if they're not starting out, let's say they are actually starting their IP business, filing a few patents. Let's say 5, 10 in a year. So for when they're having a full-on full-time IP counsel, I think the budget is of an issue.
Yes.
And actually, we have actually addressed this issue. We have providing such services to people wherein we act as their factorial IP counsel as well, wherein we advise them as their in-house counsel, and they are able to actually take decisions based on our research as well. So this makes a lot of sense for them.
Yes.
And now coming to, let's say, what gets done in-house as compared to what gets outsourced, is there any thumb rule that you follow? Is it a cost factor, or is it how do you decide? What do you decide? These parts of the should be done in-house, these should be outsourced. What is the decision making factor?
So with all the companies that I've worked so far, along with what I got to know from peers from the industries, most of the analytics related work they try to do in-house.
Right.
So that's kind of a low-hanging fruit for them, where there are a lot of professionals available, and they hire and get it groomed, and they try to have these things in-house done. But when it comes to some level of high stakes involved activities, be it on the patent drafting side or
prosecution
and litigation related matters, they try to go outsource. So this is a common pattern no matter what the companies start. Being a startup to bigger, larger companies, they try to have a similar format, except for very few companies who do everything end to end. So they don't even have one external counsel also to support them. Those things we can just name it very few.
Very
Only
few.
Handful of companies do that. Not all companies can afford to do it.
See, affordability is one point. So the companies which are doing it is they do have so basically they are able to have a large team in-house, and they want to go keep everything in-house, so that works for them. Whereas others, they do not want to put everything in one basket. They want to have an in-house team, whereas they also want to have external counsel. This is, I think, the most common practice, which is what I have seen as well. Even though they have an in-house team, like you're saying, there are a few wherein they actually focus on search related activities.
Correct.
And thereafter, once they have the search results, then they go for outside counsel to get these the other services, drafting and prosecution done as such.
Yes.
Now, coming to how IP can be leveraged itself, do you have any examples, or from your experience, how IP actually played a major role, maybe let's say in negotiating with others or the pricing strategy as such?
Yeah, that is one important point which most of the companies are missing out today. I put both the perspectives from the startup point of view as well as from the bigger companies' point of view. So when it comes to startups, what typically companies do is like they see IP more of a legal framework. They don't seem to really understand the value that IP brings into them. So that is one area where it is lacking. So what major thing that a startup company, since I have worked right now also working with a startup, so it's very essential for companies who are in the stage of startup. They firstly need to understand the importance and value of IP, because it comes in multiple facets. One is like it's not about the number of patents or the number of IPs that you have in the portfolio. It's more about how the critical elements are there. That is where the initial negotiation starts, and it comes in multiple facets actually. One is you get the investment funding happening around that. That again, we most of the startups, they don't go with an individual patent based valuation process. They go as a portfolio, right? So the portfolio adds a lot of value. No company is interested in just getting one patent and they stop it there.
Yes.
So the valuation goes more in terms of how quality the portfolio is. Accordingly, they place the investment value towards it. And the other part when it comes to the leveraging of these IP things is like you also get opportunities to work across different partners, be it from the government side as well as from the private side. So when you have these IP, which are good quality IPs that you have in your portfolio, that actually adds value on, or rather confidence, I would say, to the different
to the other person,
wherein they can no matter what, if you have a good portfolio of IP in place, they will get bite to that, and they accordingly can come to you and work along with you. So,
definitely, from their perspective, it makes sense, right? So unless you have IP, it is you are not really creating any barrier for entry.
Correct.
So if not you, someone else can do the same thing.
Exactly.
Unless you create that barrier for entry, this does play a very important role.
Correct.
So if there is no barrier for entry, there is no stopping another person to do the same thing.
Exactly.
So that is what the investor is looking for.
Correct.
Let's say when he is investing in you.
Exactly.
And that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
So now coming to the IP itself, let's say in the organization. So how do you groom your let's say employees to actually identify IP, to actually know that there is something of value which needs to be protected, and have a culture of let's say filing for IP, and also on top of that, even after that, they should be able to identify, right? So not everything is protectable. Some things have to be let's say dealt at their end itself. How do you go about doing this?
Yes, this is a challenge and an ongoing process, by the way. Irrespective of what size the company is, we need to have regular awareness sessions happening. So even today, I see a lot of graduates who are joining fresh to the company. They don't have a basic understanding of what is IP. So that is somewhat shocking and surprising.
Actually, they are addressing that. So in engineering, they now have a subject on IP, patents.
So only very recently is coming up, but early days, if you look at, not many colleges had such a subject in place. So it's very important for any company to have an ongoing awareness at different levels. It should be again a top driven approach rather than a bottom up approach. The initiation should come from the leadership or from the founder itself. So that plays a key important role. The second thing is like you need to have a complete process put in place. There is no longer a play where you just have somebody is coming and saying, I have a patentable subject, you have it filed and leave it as such, and then you wait for the next person to come in and then you file it. That will never going to work. So you need to have at least a regular ongoing IP mining workshops in place, and it should be embedded probably into your product development process itself as one of a gateway checkpoint, where if you look at the overall product deliverables, you will get the design reviews done along with the manufacturing related aspects. All these things are reviewed. So IP should be embedded as one of the checkpoint when it comes to this ongoing design reviews. So that's where you, irrespective of what level or what stage your product is, you get a flavor. Like if, for example, a project is starting off at the early stage where the kickoff is happening and the business case is proposed, by then you will have already a bunch of IPs identified, because you would have done the initial level of market study before making a business case proposal. And in between, if you're putting a the landscape or the white space analysis, through that you would have identified, okay, I have a space for my IP to put in this space. Accordingly, I can venture into it. Next stage probably could be like working around and identifying what ideas I can pitch into my product. Then comes the risk mitigations and so on and so forth.
Yeah.
So your complete internal process when it comes to the new product development, especially if you are an in-house counsel, that is going to play a huge impact. And no matter what size the company is, this is going to help them a lot.
Yeah.
So that is one critical point, I would say.
So around this, so do you incentivize, let's say, inventors? How does that work? So let's say incentivizing them works, or is it recognition that works, or is it, let's say, just the workshops?
Correct.
Something should work, right? So
Yes.
he should be, because he is on from his point of view, he is working.
Correct.
Right. And then you tell him to do this additional work.
Correct.
Wherein you say,
Yes,
you fill
yes,
up
yes.
invention disclosures, give it to me, try to determine something which is not his, but it is the company's.
Yes,
How
yes,
do you actually address this?
Yeah. Many inventors, they are reluctant when it comes to some paperwork.
Yeah.
They just go away. They say that, no, I'm completely occupied with something else.
Yeah.
So don't touch me. I've submitted my idea. You do whatever.
You do
want.
whatever.
So this is a typical response that we get.
But from your point of view, he is the one who is the inventor. Correct. He has to give you that information.
Correct.
Unless he gives you the information, you cannot invent on his behalf.
Exactly. So that is one challenge which I have faced throughout my career. So for that, companies that I've worked with, they obviously had an incentive mechanism in place.
Okay.
So incentive goes in multifold. One is like incentivizing through some monetary rewards. Other one is recognizing them in some of the platforms internally as well as externally. So the monetary part, I would say, plays a very minimal role. But the recognition is creating a huge impact. Which I have seen literally in organizations, be it my previous organization or the current organization, where one person gets motivated by other, like, Arey, what's happening here? Why is he getting rewarded? Why can't I do something else of same kind?
Yeah.
So that gets motivated, and it's like it becoming viral for everyone to get into that mode of IP. So that is very crucial. Even for that matter, I have seen companies where they start putting displays of their inventions and the inventors in their internal premises. So be it the visitors who are coming in or the internal employees in a common forum, they have this physical display put in place. There, it's like a good recognition.
Yeah.
When you yourself see your own photograph put in across in a public space, that will give a different feeling.
This is what I keep hearing.
Yes.
So just giving them a monetary reward doesn't work at all.
Correct. Yes.
Because they're already getting good salaries.
Correct.
Small monetary reward doesn't go a long way.
Yes.
But recognition is what goes a long way in motivating inventors.
Correct.
But do you see what are the common mistakes that usually inventors that you have seen do in, let's say, filling up invention disclosure form, and how do you address that?
So this is a big challenge when it comes to writing. They
don't want to write.
The initial disclosures that we typically receive is like not more than like 3-4 lines.
Okay. It is just the idea.
It's just a very blanket level idea they just put in place without, of course it will have
So
a
from
lot
his
of
point
value.
of view,
Yeah.
it is that I don't want to spend more time on it unless this is worth something.
Correct, exactly. They see that it's just the idea that I'll be giving, and then
you do
rest
everything
all
else.
lies with the IP team or the external counsel who is involved in this particular
Okay.
activity.
Uh-huh.
But in a way it's true, but in a way it's their shared responsibility also. Because what matters a lot is like most of the times the invention disclosures will act as a base for the complete patent application itself. If that is not written or captured properly, then your complete patent application will go into a different direction.
Definitely.
So that invention disclosure writing in itself, there needs to be an awareness system that comes into picture. So you need to have a proper awareness that goes in, especially for key individuals who are working on some core technology areas.
Yeah.
So you can't go and train every employee. So that's going to take their time and your time, and there is a lot of cost involved to it. So that will not going to help. Rather, you identify some key employees, probably 1 or 2 employees in a given department. You train them on what to be disclosed, what not to be disclosed.
Right.
Then they will get a flavor of, okay, this is what I
This
need
is
to
what
make,
needs to
and
be.
this is the stopping point for me. Okay, if I put this, then I'm done with it. Rest all is taken care by the IP team. So we need to make them mature towards that level so that it will become a shared responsibility. No longer that we need to keep following up with them to see that, okay, we want more information, we want this diagram to be put in, all these things. If we train them at the initial place for 1 or 2 disclosures, rest all falls into place.
Now coming to that point itself, wherein let's say the invention disclosures that you receive. Right now you've been in a battery swapping technology company. Do you get inventions which are more like business methods rather than, let's say, inventions as such? And how do you deal with this?
Yeah, that is again, we get disclosures of all kind, no matter how small or how big the invention is and what domain area it falls into. As you rightly pointed out, we got bunch of business model related innovations. But the key is like we try to educate them of what is that the Patent Act calls for, and is it okay to go ahead, and we try to again find the key technology behind the business innovation models. Okay, rather than just simply putting a blanket response of no, that business models can't
Right.
patentable subject, we just go a little further and understand what is it that a technology which lies behind that business innovation.
Definitely.
So we try to identify that and put it as a patent application rather than at first place simply saying no
this
to the
cannot
business
be done.
model innovation, it will not work. So you just go ahead and do your own other area of work. So we try to avoid it. In fact, for any other subjects where we say not patentable due to many other factors, we never stop there. We try to educate them on why we say it as not patentable and what is it that you can do to make it patentable.
Yes.
So that again plays a value add advantage for them to understand things at a deeper core.
So when you get all these, let's say, you may get a lot of ideas from inventors, but not everything is, let's say, worth it, because patents do cost a lot of money.
Correct.
Maybe even it is patentable subject matter
Yes.
as well. But do you decide as to what needs to be filed? Okay, my budget is this. I do not have an infinite budget to file everything. Do you decide as to, yeah, this is something which is worth it, I'll go file it. This is not something which I want to pursue. Do you do that, or you just blanketly any ideas that you come that you go ahead and file it?
It actually varies over a period of time.
Okay.
There is no such a set principle or a set methodology that we can have throughout the case of your business. So we
Right.
need to have a strategy which keeps changing from time to time and from business to business.
Different, yeah. So let's say you're a startup, maybe the numbers game matters.
correct.
Okay, we have filed so many applications,
Yes,
so the numbers matter.
Correct.
But when you are out of maybe the startup mode, what
Correct.
matters
So the
is
quality
aligning
of
with
IP,
your
business goals
business
and quality.
goals and
Yeah,
such
correct.
as well.
Yes,
So
yes,
yeah, it actually depends on the life
Correct,
cycle of the
correct.
company itself.
Yes.
Right.
Even for that matter, if you look at bigger companies, they initially start off with the number game.
Number game.
They will say that, okay, we want to achieve 200 patents in 1 year, 300 patents in 2 years. All such things will be there for the initial
Right.
stages. Once they come to some level of maturity, then they realize that it's no longer a number game. They have to move into the mode of quality. So that is, and again, they little bit go ahead and they try to have tickets of patents around. Like one technology, they form a boundary around it.
Correct.
So that's where they play the business around.
True. So now we get asked this question a lot. So I'm going to ask you this question.
Yeah, sure.
So what is the right time to file a patent?
As soon as you have an idea. So that is again. So here, what it is like if you are having some resource crunch or funding crunch, and you are in need of some investment happening around, then it is essential that you have a patent in place.
Okay.
And it is obviously good if you would have the patents filed during the early stage of product development itself, rather than waiting for everything to happen. Because this is again a common myth where most of the startups thinks that, okay, I'll wait once I get maybe a Series A funding, probably I'll go for investing on patents and then I'll get it filed. So that never works. By the time you go and file, somebody would already have a bunch of patents around the same technology.
Right.
So it's no longer that you need to delay. The more the delay that happens, the more the room that you're giving for your competition to come and invade your space.
So the follow-up question to this one would be, many times we ask, should I file a provisional? Should I file a non-provisional? What do you have to say about that?
Here it is like if your technology, you are playing in a technology where it is at some level of maturity, or it is attaining towards some level of saturation, and you have a complete product in itself in place, then the obvious decision is to go for a complete specification. Whereas you are working on some experimentation around one particular technology where it requires for you to develop a prototype some level of time, and top of it you would also like to add a lot more features to it, then it is recommended to have a provisional application. Because as I was telling, the provisional application, now you get to add a lot of things at later point when it goes for the complete. Whereas for the complete application, because you have everything in hand, which is the technology is not again going to move to a greater extent.
Right.
Let's say, for example, you have this gear train technology. It's like there for like ages and ages. Now, if I go for a provisional application, it doesn't make sense unless I'm going to tweak it to a larger extent in the next 3-4 months of time. Otherwise, it's almost mature technology where the recommendation is simply go ahead and file a complete specification.
Yeah, makes sense.
As long as you have things in place.
Yeah.
Whereas if I'm working on maybe an AI-related technology where probably I can do a lot more research around it, then...
But you need to protect whatever is there in the interim. You file a provisional and then wait for it, and then go ahead and file a complete with the time period that you have.
Correct. Yes.
Coming to this itself, now, do you have a strategy for foreign filing? Do you, let's say, how do you decide as to, yes, this needs to be filed elsewhere as well? How do you decide it? How do you decide on the countries? Is it the budget? Is it the business goals? What is the decision making behind, let's say, your strategy in filing of patents outside of India?
So I'll put it in a simple acronym for this, just for the better of understanding. We call it as patent itself, where the first P stands for the prioritization part. Okay. You need to identify markets which are of high revenue potential markets for you. So that maybe you can understand the customer base there and how the revenue is going to be. Basis that you need to prioritize the markets for you. So that is the first point. Then comes the A stands for affordability.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
So how, because if you look at the overall patent system across the globe, you will find like every country
has different
their
pricing,
own pricing for all these legislative things. So you need to understand like where is it that I'm going to play, and am I affording this cost? So am I okay to maintain this throughout the lifetime? So that is the next thing that any company will have to look out for. Then comes the T, T stands for the timeline factor.
Right.
Okay. So at what point in time I have to go ahead and protect it. Okay. So that is also very crucial for anything. Then comes the ecosystem part of it. The ecosystem is about right now. It's not about what countries I'm going to launch the product. Where am I going to have my manufacturing base?
Correct. Yeah, this makes sense because from what you are talking about is, let's say, even though I may not have let's say, I'm not selling my product in China as such, but it makes sense to file it in China, get a patent granted in China, so that there are no other manufacturers who are going to actually copy your product in China. In that way, you can really stop them from manufacturing the product itself in, let's say, manufacturing countries themselves.
Okay. And for E also, I have one other thing on enforceability factor.
Right. Makes
because
very crucial.
Many times they blindly take a decision of okay, we file, these are the market countries, we just go ahead
and file it.
But if it comes to the enforceability, many of the IPs lies in the black box. Again, enforceability needs to be looked at from two perspectives. One is your own technology perspective, whether you can visibly see
and enforce it, right?
Or the system there or the regulatory norms there is having a supportive environment for this enforcement.
Yes.
So you need to look from both these perspectives to understand whether it is really making sense for you to go ahead and fight. So that's to put it in a nutshell. Like, these are the different things that we need to look out for.
Very good feedback on this. Yeah. Now, coming to, let's say, you working with other companies such as OEMs and such that, how does the patent game work in this? Do you do let's say an FTO to begin with as to determine whether you have freedom to operate in the jurisdiction, or when you work with the OEM themselves, do you leverage your patents to actually negotiate deals and such?
Yes. Freedom to operate or the risk identification and mitigation is very crucial, no matter what size the company is. So typically, again, it's an ongoing exercise. We never stop it. Like, today you are going to launch a product and this is what the spec is, and we do this FTO for maybe certain defined jurisdictions, and these are the recommendation. You're done with it. It's not the case. Till the product goes to the field, from the time the product got kicked off, we will have continuous FTO exercises happening.
Okay.
Because why this is crucial is, many a times, of course, you might know that the patent, whatever we look out for when it comes to the infringement perspective, it will all have some locking period before it gets published.
Yes.
Okay. So that locking period, we need to keep assessing every now and then, just to understand that if there is something that I'm missing out. Because initial level, for example, today I'm doing a freedom to operate. Okay. And the product launch is happening somewhere down the line, maybe like 8 months or 9 months down the line. And I've told, like, today I have not found any application, the claims are not mapping to your product features, and you're good to go. But the very next month,
there's something which is mapping on,
which is popping out. I'm completely missing out. But the business team is going ahead.
It's not bothered.
Launch.
Yeah.
Ultimately, it comes as a very like a showstopper for them to finally put a break once they realize that they need to go back and redesign the whole stuff. So it's going to be an ongoing thing, no matter at what level of the ideation or the product development process that you have in. You need to keep checking this FTO at least once in a quarter, just to understand, like, are there any new patents that are popping up which are similar to your working area? So that is very crucial out here.
Sure. On this front itself, what is your experience on enforceability in India? Because many a time what we say is, people who are not aware of this, they're not very serious about India, it's Indian patents, it's not required, it's not really enforceable, the courts take a long time. Because since you are from the from your perspective, because you're from the company, what is your take on this? Have you tried to enforce, or others have tried to enforce their patents on you? What is your take on this?
Enforceability is still lacking to a certain extent.
Okay, then why the fear?
but I would say it's still emerging. There are some places it's happening, but it's not at a spread as we see in a global scenario.
Like maybe the US.
US especially. But here we have seen some cases. In fact, if you look at all these high courts, be it in Chennai High Court or any other high courts for that matter, there are a lot of IP litigation matters which are going. So it's still just
so nobody wants to get stuck in litigation.
Yes. So it is again not coming into the limelight. Nobody's talking about it.
True.
So that is one other area where we don't get to realize like whether actually this thing is happening around. But if you go to the High Court database where all the case files are put in place, you will find a lot of IP related matters, and of course majority of it are on the trademark side of things, with very little on the patent related matters. But it is happening around. It's just that enforceability will require still more stringent laws probably to come to a level of what we are seeing in the US based scenario.
So from your point of view as in-house counsel, what is a dashboard that you would want to look at every day? What is the key performance metrics that you would want to look at and telling you that what is working, what is not working? What is the type of dashboard that you would like to look at?
A dashboard you come from again the complete portfolio.
The portfolio, let's say patents, trademarks.
Yes. For patents, we have to have at least, if not daily, at least we look at it on a monthly basis, just to see that are there any technologies that is becoming obsolete? Are there anything where is it really making business sense for us to keeping it alive? So,
True.
Because there is a lot of cost involved when it comes to that. So these kind of checks we need to essentially do. And also the other thing is like, what is it as a core patent that we need to look out for? What's it something like which is coming as a add-on? So these are the again two segregations that we see to understand like what is it that really makes a portfolio a greater value, and was it something that we can license out probably. So these are the chinks at the strategic level that we look at, just to see that we are not overspending on things which we really don't want to.
So in your present organization, I'm sure because they come from a background of filing for patents and all that, but have you had to, let's say, convince the management to spend more on patents, or convince them this is worth it, we'll have to file for this, and the management looks at it from a cost perspective as to what is the advantage? Do you have to convince that you still have to do it?
Yes, initially I was doing that because sometimes what the management feels is like not everything that people brings in should be patentable.
Yes.
I mean, it's all obviously the cost involved. Yes. Obviously, we get the funding from the management to get this filing done. So there is some reluctancy over the management to state that we don't want every application to be filed. So initially that was a struggle. Yes, definitely. Because we initially need to make them aware like what is it that is going to create a business value for when we are spending patent for this particular innovation. So that strategic level awareness we need to do no matter what the company is. Initial level, that reluctance will be there. Then slowly now they have realized actually, okay, it's no longer that we have to, of course we have stopped the number game. It's more of quality now. But management is aware completely like what is it that the business really wants, and of course the funding is also accordingly happening for all the IP related expenses.
The next question is a must answer question because of the day and age we are in. That is AI.
Correct.
So AI itself, are you using it? Does it make your workload lesser? What do you think about the future of IP itself with the advent of AI?
AI will definitely be a supporting factor when it comes to the IP related matters, but it's just that we can't be completely relying on AI related things. We can probably make AI as an assisting tool for us. Be it in making the disclosures or probably in automating related things. We have these agentic AIs which are happening through. So probably we can make use of those agentic AIs just to be helping us in maybe quickly indicating like this is coming up for renewal. You just quickly act on it. Probably for certain level of automation we can do it. But the human touch is never replaceable. So no matter what the technology comes in, there is always a sense of human touch, especially when it comes to the IP matters, where because A can't go and see an inventor, or they can't get to sense the feel of what inventor actually thinks about an idea. So unlike a human, where we get a physical interaction, and we also literally look at like what is it that the invention is coming from, and what is it they are actually, is it really making sense or not. So these kind of fields, only the human factor will come in place, not the AI related things. Having said all these things,
you still are implementing AI.
it is coming in.
It's a mandatory thing.
It is coming in some way or the other form. But again, we are not completely dependent on AI related matters. We are just keeping them as some assisting tools.
Good to hear that. Yeah. Now, there are, let's say, in-house, let's say someone wants to be hired as in-house IP counsel. What are some of the factors that a company should consider? Or what do they look for? Do they look for, let's say, somebody who is already in-house IP counsel in another company? Or do they look for service providers? What do they look for, factors that they look for when hiring a person as a in-house IP counsel?
So companies, they don't typically look for whether you need to be coming from an in-house background. They typically don't do that. But having said that, you at least need to have a flavor of the complete IP ecosystem. Whether you worked in a service-based company or a larger corporate-based company, you need to have an end-to-end approach of what is it that the IP plays a role when it comes to an organization. So that level of understanding, that is the basic level of expectation, I would say. On top of it, how you are going to align your IP to the roadmap of the business. So this is one other level of expectation that people look out for, because companies, they will not just look at IP as one other department, because it has a lot of implication from multiple facets, from your product side, from your business side, from your litigation or the legal side of things. So it touches across all these facets, where you need to be completely aware of all these things happening around the organization. So that is one other key thing that the company is looking for when they are hiring an in-house counsel. So you just can't be working in silos where, okay, I'm having one IP cell in place, the inventor comes in, discusses the idea,
he goes.
I file it and I keep it silent. It will never going to work. You need to have all the stakeholders involved when it comes to it. So that is a key thing.
A pulse on the business should be there.
Correct. Yes. So that is one key thing the business is looking for, actually.
Thanks a lot, Bala. That was very insightful talk for us. I'm sure it was very helpful for the users our listeners as well. Thanks a lot for your time. And to our listeners, we can listen to more such insights from listening to our other podcasts as well. Thank you all.